Welcome to week 7. And with that said, let's before we dive into the matchups, I think that we should take a quick look at the league standings. And right now, you've got Jimmy Thing, who's playing Charlestown Chiefs. We got brotherly matchups, 4-2, must-win game for Charlestown Chiefs. We've got Egg Rolls, who's at 2-4, also facing Cyril, who's also at 2-4. I'd say another must-win game. You've got Bad News Bears at 2-4 and Chips at 3-3. Probably not as much urgency for Chips as there is for Bad News Bears. So that'll be interesting to see how that shakes up. And you've got Jerkback Mountain at 3-3, facing the paper tiger of the league in multiple scoregasms. Spreadheads, obviously facing I feel a must-win at 1-5, facing Team Pigeon. We're going to find out this week if Team Pigeon is a pretender or contender. And then also we've got our matchup of the week in Mind Freak showing up against Deep Dishing, both at 5-1 in the leaders division. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be the strongest matchup, but I pick it as the matchup of the week because of the fact that they're both at 5-1. So with that said, let's get on with it, and we'll start with our brotherly matchup. And you've got Jimmy Thing versus Chiefs. Quarterback, I see a potential wash. At running back, I see Forte edging out Green Ellis. I see Foster getting a big nudge over Dwyer. Fitzgerald against Minnesota's D is interesting against Smith. Bryant and Marshall are interesting. Johnson should come out, you'd figure, against Graham. Kyle Rudolph versus Owen Daniels, another intriguing matchup. Where I think that the difference really lies is the fact that Chris Clemens already has 2 points, and Rob is contingent upon Cleveland Browns getting a lot of points against Baltimore Ravens, against Indy versus Baltimore's D in Houston. I think overall, Jimmy Thing should win this one by 15. It's going to be actually a really close matchup that you wouldn't necessarily figure as far as the records are concerned. But with that said, if Charlestown Chiefs can get all the upside that he needs from his players, I do see a potential upset pick here. But I'm going to stick with Jimmy Thing. Egg Rolls versus Sterl, 2 teams at the bottom of the division, 2-4 respectively. Obviously, Egg Rolls is going to be going with Fitzpatrick versus Freeman. That's a shit show right there. Spiller versus Williams, I like Spiller. Richardson, that's a shit show. Everson's a shit show. Brown, that's a shit show. Vincent Jackson, I do like some points there. I do like Mike Wallace. I do like Victor Cruz. Gronkowski versus Pita. Gronkowski can be hit and miss. I think if the Texans and Phil Dawson can get points, I like Egg Rolls to actually get away with this one by 15, but I don't feel solid about either one of these teams in this matchup because there are some X factors here. But again, I'm going with Egg Rolls. Bad News Bears versus Chips. Bad News Bears, this is a must-win. Chips could be a trap game for him, even though obviously he'd probably want to slit his wrist if he were to lose the Bad News Bears. I see Rodgers beating Stafford. I'm not sure about Sproles. I like Bradshaw, McFadden. I like Harvin. Antonio Brown is iffy. I think Witten and Hernandez are both going to do well. And in the end, I think Chips is actually going to pull away by about 20 points, as I just don't feel Sean Green's going to get it done against New England. And Andre Johnson's been up and down. Torrey Smith versus Houston could be okay. Too many X factors. Unless we get a lot of points from Sproles, you get a lot of points from the Giants, D and Jared Allen. I just like to go with Chips here. Jerkback Mountain versus multiple scoregasms, our paper tiger of the division, if you will. I like Roethlisberger by a little bit over Newton. It'll be interesting to see where Newton is, and I think this is going to be a long ways towards Jerkback being able to tell if he can at least ride out with his number 1 pick here. Ridley, Martin, Morris, Welker, AJ Green. Right there's probably 100 points versus what? Steven Jackson, Johnson, Lloyd, Washington. Not going to happen. Even if Colson gets you 40, you're just going to be too far behind the rearview mirror as far as Jerkback's concerned. And Minnesota's defense this week against Arizona is being picked across the board as far as being the number 1 defense. And I really think that Jerkback is going to get into the mix here after this week as far as a victory over Scoregasms in the division. Spread heads versus Team Pigeon. I like Breeze over Griffin. However, Griffin's got a lot of upside against a tough D. But then you've got Jones Drew, and you've got Trent Richardson, Hakeem Nicks, Kenny Brent, even Denarius Moore. If Nelson can do a lot for spread heads, that's going to go a long ways. Gordon may get 20, 25 points, but in the end, unless J.J. Watt can get 20, Dustin Keller can chip in with 15. I just feel like Team Pigeon just has a little bit too much. And I think that Team Pigeon's going to solidify himself as a contender. Lastly, we've got our matchup of the week, Mind Freak versus Deep Dishing, Brady versus Eli. I'm actually skeptical to play Eli versus Carson Manning. He's my son. I'm going to go with him. Adrian Peterson, I like it here against Arizona. He's going to get in the end zone twice. Jones is going to get, I'd say, 17 to 20 points. Ray Rice, I believe, as well, is going to get probably 20 points. Reggie Wayne should get 20. Curley is a big X factor. Curley, Myers, Gould, and Arizona are just too unknown. But when I face that against Jared Cook, Gostkowski, and Steve Johnson, and James Jones, I do like my upside here, and I think Mind Freak does have a little bit of exposure here. I'm actually going to beat him in a very close matchup that could come down to a Monday night between Chicago going against Detroit with the Bears D versus Robbie Gould as my kicker. Let's go to Pick'ems real quick. Let's take a look at the standings. Mind Freak is still in the lead by over 3 games over Bad News Bears. A lot of clusterfuck here down in the middle here, but it is going to be interesting to see what's going to happen this week. I think Deep Dishing is going to go 12-2. But with that said, good luck to everyone, and I look forward to conversing with all of you during the games tomorrow. Late.